against age, offering young people not just a dream, but a role to play. Standard bearers in the march to a new dawn. It was a way of channeling the natural rebelliousness of youth on organized lines. And the organization responsible was the Hitlerjugend, the youth wing of the Nazi Party.
Denn ihr seid Fleisch, von unserem Fleisch und Blut, von unserem Blut. Und in euren jungen Gehirn brennt derselbe Geist, der uns beherrscht.
In 1932, the Hitler Youth numbered just 100,000. Within 2 years, it numbered 3.5 million. And by 1939, it was an army, compulsory for all boys, with girls joining its sister organization, the League of German Maidens. It was the largest youth movement the world had ever seen.
Vor uns liegt Deutschland, in uns marschiert Deutschland und hinter uns kommt Deutschland.
Most roads in Germany at that time had cobbles. It was painful on our feet, but that didn't matter. We felt important. The police had to stop traffic to give us right of way, and passers-by had to salute to respect our flag. I remember how funny it sometimes was with the old ladies with their shopping bags shooting their arms into the air.
His group met after school and all day Saturday. Plenty of sport, with the emphasis on teamwork. And training in useful skills. Signaling, fixing bikes, collecting waste and scrap metal. But the most important lesson was in Nazi theory. Learning to love Hitler. Boys were being bred for war. These scenes record life on a typical Hitler Youth summer camp. The camps were the high point of the Hitler Youth calendar, and they were much loved. They gave poor children the chance of a holiday, sometimes for the first time. They mixed rich and poor together. They introduced city kids to the countryside. But their main function was basic military training.
We learned how to throw hand grenades, how to dig trenches. Then they take us on long, hard marches to toughen us up. If anyone fell, they'd shout till they wobbled onto their feet again. They would divide us into 2 groups, the blues and the reds. One group to defend a position, the other to attack it. The whistle, and then contact. Noise, bloody noses, twisted arms, shrieks of pain. In the beginning, I hated it all, but I got used to it. And I think what it did was it developed the aggression we would all need to help Germany fight a war.
The ideal child, raised by proud Nazi parents, was of quite another mold. For one thing, young men and young women had different parts to play. As a leader of the Girls' League put it,
men and women, boys and girls, must carry out their duty according to their station. Boys we raise as political soldiers, and girls as the comrades of these political soldiers. We teach them to be wives and mothers, and to breed the next generation. That's all.
Kinder, Kirche, Küche. Children, church, and kitchen. Girls in Nazi Germany weren't encouraged to have ambitions beyond the home. In the Girls' League, they learned cooking, making beds, childcare. Their clothes and hair copied old peasant styles. no cigarettes, no makeup. A perm could be punished by shaving the head. How many children escaped indoctrination? It's impossible to know. As 10 years of Nazi rule passed by, the Hitler Youth lost its appeal as something exciting. It was now compulsory, backed up by Gestapo laws and busybody Hitler Youth patrols. More and more, the rebellious thing was to refuse to join. These photographs are the only surviving pictures of German youth gangs in the early 1940s. The Edelweiss Pirates, the Texas Band, the Navajos. They beat up Nazi officials, wrote graffiti on walls, but mostly they just hung out and listened to American jazz. Their casual, fun-loving attitude made a mockery of Nazi control.
They dance outrageously. They call it swing. Sometimes 2 boys with 1 girl, sometimes all together in a wild circle. Girls wear lipstick and paint their nails. It's monstrous.
I remember one time when a group of jazzers had gathered on the pier to play Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, not disturbing anyone. But jazz was un-German. And so the self-important Hitler Youth leader marches up and orders them to stop this Jewish nonsense. But the jazzers stripped his clothes off, stuffed the most disgusting things into his mouth, I will not say what, and they chucked him in the river by the sewage outflow. The whole thing took no more than a few minutes.
The government hit back. Curfews were ordered to stop young people visiting bars after 9 o'clock. Hanging round and smoking in public were banned. Forced labor for those that broke the rules, or death. This photo shows the fate of 12 young Edelweiss pirates caught in Cologne in '44.
Pause the tape here to write your own essay plan. How are you going to turn these 5 bricks into a plan for an essay? In this case, the question is a fairly simple one, but it is not write all you know about young people in Nazi Germany. It asks you to present an answer which looks at how the Nazis affected young people. There's no right approach, but here's one way in, and remember that you can look at the clips as many times as you want to. Before you start to write, decide what you really think about this topic. Put this view into your opening sentences. Here's one suggestion. Hitler formed the Hitler Youth to indoctrinate young people with Nazi ideas. He was trying to create a German people who would serve the Nazi state and go to war when asked. Your first paragraph could be about Hitler and young people. Hitler knew he could never win over all German adults, so he concentrated on young people. The Hitler Youth was formed, and soon vast numbers had joined. Rallies were held. The second paragraph could be about the fact that young people were indoctrinated in schools. Teachers were controlled. Books were rewritten. Race science and anti-Semitism introduced into the classroom. All of this was preparation for war. Paragraph 3 could look at the girl's role. And to understand this, you have to put the clock back. Comment on the styles of dress and hair. Generally, girls were encouraged to be home builders only, having children, being a member of the local church, and a first-class cook. Paragraph 4 could be about the boys' role. The boys learnt military skills on camps and hikes. They played war games and were toughened up. They were also fed a great deal of propaganda. What about those who didn't take part? Paragraph 5 could be about those who opted out. Some listened to American jazz, which was hated by the Nazis. Some young political opponents, like the White Rose Group, were ferociously dealt with. As you may have gathered, the actual answers that you need to write to this kind of question should be quite long, around 2 or 3 pages of A4. Here's another grade guide, but this time it's the format of the answers which had been given. Each one answers the same question, but the quality of the answers is very different. If you answer the question in a similar way to the first person, you'll probably be heading for a grade F. If you answer the question in a similar way to the second person, you'll probably be heading for a grade C. If you answer the question in a similar way to the last person, you'll be heading for the highest grade, an A. It's important that you understand why these 3 attempts at the same question were heading for such different grades. Pause the tape and replay the grade guide to make sure you see the differences between the answers. What What are the examiners looking for, apart from a plan which avoids the essay becoming just a jumble? They want to see an essay which is a connected piece of writing answering the question, not just a list of items.